Welcome to 21st Sports 2015 Season Preview for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to go over the roster and the schedule and make predictions for every game in the 2015 season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But let's start off with their roster for 2015. And behind center at quarterback, Big Ben Roethlisberger, coming off a monster season last year where he was just shy of 5,000 passing yards. He had 4,952 passing yards and 32 touchdowns last season. And at running back, starting things off, they're going to have Angelo Williams in the backfield. Of course, Le'Veon Bell is serving a 2-game suspension, but when he comes back, he will bolster this offense as he had a spectacular year last year with 13,061 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns on the ground. He also had 854 receiving yards as well as 3 catches for touchdowns. So Le'Veon Bell is definitely predicted to have a monster season, even though he's going to miss the first couple games. Then at receiver, we have Antonio Brown, who also is coming off a big year last year for Pittsburgh, as he had 1,698 receiving yards and 13 touchdowns. Then we have Marcus Wheaton, and they also have back him up Darius Hayward-Bay, and then at tight end Heath Miller. And then over on defense, on the defensive end, starting on the front four, you have Cameron Hayward, and on the other side, Stephon Tuitt, and then at nose tackle, Steve McLendon, and then the linebacking core on the outside, you have Arthur Moats on the left side, and on the right side, you have Jarvis Jones, and then on the inside, on the left, you have Ryan Shazier, and on the right side, and the inside, Lawrence Timmons. Then in the secondary, on the corners, you have William Gay and Cortez Allen. They also at nickelback added Brandon Boykin from the Eagles. And then at free safety, Mike Mitchell, and his strong safety, Shamarko Thomas. A noticeable by his absence is Troy Polamalu, who retired in the offseason, and that's going to be a big hole right there for Pittsburgh. But we'll see how they can, make the adjustments. They've got a lot of young talent coming in. They still got some veterans as well on the defense, but there's a lot of young players that are going to have to step up for Pittsburgh to have success this season. And then on the special teams, at kicker, Josh Scooby, and the punter, Jordan Berry, and returning kicks, Dry Archer, and punts, Antonio Brown. Although you have to wonder how long are they going to have Brown returning punts. It's not necessarily the best idea to have your number one receiver, one of the top receivers in the league, receiving punts on the special teams. But that's the roster for the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into the season. And now let's look at their schedule. And for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're opening up the season on Thursday night. Of course, they call it Sunday night on Thursday, although it is on Thursday, and Sunday and Thursday are 2 different days, but that's the name of the program because NBC is going to be airing the game that airs September 10th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. They'll be playing that one in Foxborough against the Patriots, the very first game of the regular season. And heading into this game, both teams are going to have some losses. It looked like the Patriots would be without Brady, but with the judge's decision, he will be playing. Of course, the Steelers will be without Le'Veon Bell. They're also going to be without Pouncey as well, and Bryant. So the Steelers will not be at full strength, and I believe the Patriots are going to be able to take them out in Foxborough. So that's week 1. Then in week 2, they go to home to Heinz Field, and they host the San Francisco 49ers. That's September 20th. That's a Sunday game at 1 p.m., and I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to beat up on the Niners and get into the win column and even up their record at 500 there in week 2. And they shouldn't really have too much problem with the Niners. I think the Niners are going to have a horrible season. Then in week 3, September 27th, another Sunday game at 1 p.m. Eastern. They're going to be on the road in St. Louis, facing off against the Rams. And I believe Pittsburgh can beat the Rams. The Rams have a tough defense, but they have some big question marks on offense. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are a team that's going to put up points even against the best defenses in the league. As we saw last year, Roethlisberger, on back-to-back weeks, he had 6 touchdowns. And at this point in Week 3, Le'Veon Bell will be back, and he'll be back with a vengeance. And I believe he'll have a big week, and they will beat the Rams. And so that'll get their record up to 2-1. So in Week 4, October 1st, they're going to be playing a Thursday night game at 8:25 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's going to be at home in Pittsburgh against the Baltimore Ravens. And I believe that they can beat the Ravens in this game. I think the Ravens are going to have a tough year. This game potentially could be a shootout, as these two teams could put a lot of points on the board potentially, and the Ravens are going to be throwing the ball a lot, and the Steelers will be throwing it, but the difference will definitely be Le'Veon Bell in this game, in my opinion, and the Steelers will win this one. So then in Week 5, October 12th, Monday Night Football, 8:30 p.m. kickoff, and it's going to be played in San Diego as the Steelers go to face the Chargers on the road on Monday night. And the Steelers are historically good on Monday night, but on the road in San Diego, I think the Chargers are going to be able to take this one. I think the Chargers are going to be a very competitive team. This is going to be a tight game, a very good game to watch for sure. One I'm definitely looking forward to seeing, especially on prime time, nationwide broadcast. It should be a fun one. But I think in the end that San Diego is going to win this one narrowly, coming down the wire, probably with a 2-minute drive by Phillip Rivers. At least that's what I'm looking at right now. But Week 6, October 18th, Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be hosting the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are a team with a very tough defense and a really good team that is going to be challenging out there in the NFC West. But when they come into the AFC North to face the Steelers, I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers can defeat the Arizona Cardinals. Is the thing with the Steelers is I think they're going to put a lot of points on the board. They said even the best defenses are going to have trouble containing the high-powered offense of Pittsburgh this year, as they should have, phenomenal numbers through the air, on the ground, and on the scoreboard. So then in Week 7, October 25th, another Sunday game. This one 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff in Kansas City against the Chiefs on the road. I think they get their second loss, or the third loss rather, of the season, and lose to KC. I think KC is going to win their division. This would be a very tight game, a really tough game. I got the Chiefs winning this one. Then in Week 8, November 1st, another Sunday game, 1 p.m. kickoff. This one at home in Pittsburgh against the Bengals, division rivals. As these two teams are going to be fighting it out for the division title this year. It's going to come down between these two teams, in my opinion. And I think in Pittsburgh, the Steelers will beat the Bengals. And then November 8th, Week 9, 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff, another Sunday game. This one, again, at home. They're hosting the Raiders, part of a 3-game stretch where they're at home before their bye week in Week 11. But in Week 9, I think that they can beat the Raiders at home, although I think the Raiders are going to have a really good season. So then in Week 10, November 15th, another Sunday game, 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff at home, the third game of a 3-game stretch of home games, and 4 out of 5 actually. So anyway, the 3 games in a row at home, and I think they'll beat the Browns. I don't think they'll have much trouble with the Browns. They own the Browns, historically speaking, and I think that trend continues this year. I don't think the Browns have done enough to compete with the Steelers in the offseason. So that leads us to Week 11. That's a bye week for Pittsburgh. And then coming out of the bye, they got their toughest game probably the whole season. Is in Week 12, November 29th. They're headed to Seattle to face the Seahawks. That's a 4:25 p.m. Eastern kickoff time. And I think on the road against Seattle, they're going to lose that game right there. It's going to be a tough battle, but I think, in Seattle, the Seahawks are next to unbeatable. So I think Pittsburgh's not going to be able to go into Seattle and win that one. So then in Week 13, we have a Sunday Night Football, December 6th, 8:30 p.m. kickoff time. And this one is in Pittsburgh against the Colts. And this is a rematch of one of the most exciting games of last season. And I think, once again, Pittsburgh is going to have the Colts number and put up a lot of points. As we should see a lot of points in this game. This is a game that could see, 80 points on the scoreboard between the two teams potentially. I think it's going to be a shootout, and I think Pittsburgh outscores Indianapolis as they did last year. That's what I think is going to happen. So then we go to Week 14, December 13th, 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff time. It's a Sunday game, and this is the second match between the Bengals and the Steelers. This one is in Cincinnati, and being that it's in Cincinnati, I give the Bengals the edge as they'll hand the Steelers their 5th loss of the season. But then going into Week 15, December 20th, a Sunday game, 4:25 p.m. Eastern kickoff time. And this one is in Pittsburgh against the Broncos, their final home game of the season, and I believe they'll beat the Broncos. I think the Broncos are going to struggle this year. I think time's finally going to catch up to Peyton Manning as he is getting older. Sad to say, but that's what's going to happen. And I think the Steelers will beat them. They'll put up plenty of points, and they should be able to shut down the Broncos offense as well. So then the final 2 games of the season are on the road for Pittsburgh. They're both division rivalry games. First on Sunday night, December 27th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. They're going to be going to Baltimore to face the Ravens, and I think they will beat the Ravens for the second time this year and sweep the season series versus Baltimore and get their 10th win of the season. And that leads them to Week 17, January 3rd, 1 p.m. Eastern time, a Sunday game. And so this one is in Cleveland, the final game of the year, and I think they will have no problem beating the Browns as they have dominated Cleveland in the past decade, really ever since Cleveland reestablished itself in Cleveland as the Browns. The Pittsburgh Steelers have owned them, and this should be the case this year, as they should sweep the season series against their division rival, and that will give them their 11th win of the season. So I'll put them at 11-5. My projections overall has them just missing the playoffs, but at 11-5, if they can get that record, although I do think that the Bengals take the division, it's a very real possibility that the Steelers could be challenging them for that division title. I would not be surprised to see the Steelers take this division, although officially I have picked the Bengals to win it. But at 11-5, I think that the Steelers could be a wild card team. That might be enough to make the wild card, although in my official picks, I have them just missing the wild card. But I'm not going to be at all surprised if they are either a division champion here in the North or if they make the wild card. Both very real possibilities, and I will not be surprised to see them in the playoffs, although officially I don't have them making the playoffs. I'm just missing. But let me know what you think in the comments section below, whether you agree or disagree. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and have a good weekend, and enjoy all the sports.